The Bulette, often nicknamed the Land Shark, is one of the oldest original monsters in Dungeons & Dragons history, appearing in the very first issue of Dragon magazine back in 1976. Unlike creatures pulled from mythology or folklore, the Bulette was actually created specifically for D&D by game designer Tim Kask. The creature was inspired by a random plastic toy monster that Gary Gygax had found in a bag of cheap figurines. That same collection would also inspire other classic D&D monsters like the owlbear and the rust monster. Over the years, the Bulette became famous as a heavily armored predator that tunnels beneath the earth before erupting from the ground to ambush its prey. Its nickname Land Shark was inspired by a popular Saturday Night Live sketch from the 1970s, and the creature has appeared in every edition of Dungeons & Dragons since its debut. But today, we're not drawing the classic D&D version. Instead, I'm going to be showing you my own interpretation of this legendary burrowing beast and how it might look in my own fantasy world. So let's get to it. So, when coming up with my design here, I wanted to keep a similar body structure, but while the classic look has somewhat of a rhino-like build, I wanted to push mine into more of a drake or lizard type body, with massive forelimbs and enormous claws built for shredding the rocks and gravel of the earth to tunnel beneath the surface. One of the key elements of the Bulette is its armored plating, and while the original has always sort of given off like beetle or insect vibes to me with its armor, I opted in for something much more elemental looking. Since this is a burrowing beast after all, and heavily tied to the element of earth, I felt it was a perfect opportunity to do what I enjoy most when it comes to designing the armored plating of a creature, and make it look jagged as if it's some material of the very earth itself. These rocky tectonic plates would reflect oncoming attacks with ease, and of course its claws would be made of this same material, which is far more dense and hard than the rocky terrains it inhabits. Its head shape really lives up to that Bulette name, as it's shaped somewhat like a bullet, but I didn't want to make the skull quite as large compared to the rest of its physique. Also, atop its back is a fin-like structure, which of course ties into its nickname, the Land Shark. So I made sure to design the rocky plated armor in a way that stays true to this distinct design trait of the creature. Compared to a lot of my other concepts and designs I typically post, this one here I actually decided to do a bit of a cleaner and more fully rendered piece. So you'll see I put in a lot more details and even decided to sketch in the smaller scales of the softer underbelly of the beast. Typically, I avoid drawing all the scales like this on my creatures because it can be tedious, and I just like to crank out art non-stop, especially with my concept art, since my main goal is always just to get the point across enough and give people a good general sense of what I'm going for. But like I said earlier, I really enjoy drawing creatures with rock-like armor, so I was locked into that flow state with this one and added in all the little nooks and crannies and textures onto this one, and it was really damn satisfying, I must say. I also played around with some different color palettes as well, and you'll see at the end I made two different versions, which we could just treat as subspecies that dwell in different biomes. With this one here being one that dwells in more mountainous forest regions, and the second one would be a desert-dwelling Bulette. And with their rocky armor, they would blend perfectly into their environments, which would further aid them in ambushing unsuspecting prey that wanders into their domains. And here we have the completed piece for my interpretation of the Bulette. And here's the desert-dwelling version as well. With its color pattern, I wanted the armored plating to be coated in something like copper and give it that vibrant greenish rust look for some contrast against that reddish hue. Let me know which of these two Bulette y'all prefer in the comments down below. And that's going to do it for this quick little creature redesign video. Do me a solid, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you like the content and want to see more. And maybe give me some ideas for the next fantasy creature I can redesign here on the channel. Thanks for watching, folks, and I'll see you in the next one.